Welcome to the program. Since Nigeria gained independence more than 60 years ago, the country has been battling with one form of insecurity or the other, ranging from civil unrest that lasted 30 months with devastating consequences on the nation's unity and development, while gradual return of peace permeated through the land. Persistent ethnic, religious and political crises resurfaced in the last 2 decades, with the spate of insecurity which ushered new dimension with Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, farmers' herders crisis in the north-central, militancy in the south-south, banditry, cattle rustling, and kidnapping in the northwest, while southeast continued to experience the rise of divisive agents. These factors combined poses severe threats to national security. The recent attacks on the lives of security personnel and infrastructure in the parts of the country remained a mishap on the nation's path to sustainable peace and development, with growing concern of stakeholders to continuing incidences that could give way to another avoidable tension in the country. Despite all odds, efforts are still being initiated from all fronts to ensure citizens' safety is given priority to entrench an environment that will guarantee the peace, unity, and expectations of the greater population in the country, especially the youths. Tonight on the program, the journey of amalgamated protectorates that defied several attempts to disintegrate will be the sole focus by those who know the history and could provide platforms for securing the promising future of the country. The question is, with the lingering security challenges, can security of lives and property be guaranteed? What can be done to encourage those in governance to take responsibility? That is the thrust of our discussion tonight on the program. I am Omini Oden. Once again, welcome to the program. But first, before we begin, let's take this background report put together by Francis Fong.
The over a decade-long Boko Haram crisis, which affected socio-economic activities in northeast Nigeria, particularly Borno State being the worst hit by activities of the insurgent, saw the emergence of civilian JTF in 2014 and subsequently hunters and vigilantes forming a formidable force in assisting the military. These concerted efforts no doubt helped in the restoration of relative peace being enjoyed in the state. To further sustain the peace-intensive civil-military relations campaign needs to be enhanced for the military to become more liberal in their approach to both civilians and the media.
The media is indeed one of the line of operations alternative to kinetic operations. That media non-kinetic operation is very essential, that could be harnessed to, among other things, increase public awareness and persuasions geared toward appealing to the conscience of the masses, from whom terrorists often get their recruits and their support.
This non-kinetic approach of winning the war against terrorism will help boost intelligence gathering and information sharing, as it will aid military operations. Community policing, involvement of religious and community leaders will further help strengthen security.
So what we are suggesting for is the stakeholders.
Activities of proscribed groups in Nigeria have continued with devastating consequences on lives of not only the citizens, but also security personnel and infrastructure across parts of the country. A development that poses a threat to the unity of the nation and its continued existence as one indivisible entity. Between January and April 2021, unknown gunmen have killed about 67 security operatives and burnt down more than 50 police formations in the southeast and south-south zones. On Easter Monday, Nigerians woke up to the attack on Imo State Police Command headquarters and facility of the Nigerian Correctional Service in the state, where buildings and several operational vehicles were set ablaze. Investigation by the police reveals that the attackers stormed scenes of the incident with explosives and facilitated release of 1,844 inmates in Owerri custody, while some suspects were also freed from police detention facility and also carted away valuables belonging to suspects and police officers on duty. Serial attacks were equally carried out at the Mberi Divisional Police Headquarters in Imbetoli local government area of the state, 72 hours after. Military is not spared either, as armed men invaded Ukoji military base, killed a soldier and razed 4 vehicles. While the nation is yet to overcome the shock from the killings of security operatives in the southeast and south-south region, gunmen killed 11 military personnel in Benue State who were said to be on a routine patrol. Attack described as one too many. The Nigeria Police Force has also described the actions as attack on the soul of the nation. They enjoined leaders from the East to speak out against the unfolding violence and criminality, although some political leaders from the zones have condemned the attacks on the security operatives, urging the security agencies to unravel the rationale behind the incessant attacks and apprehend the criminal elements to face the full weight of the law. As stiffer measures unfold to stop the trend, Nigerians look forward to the end of such actions and a return of the era of safety of security personnel for better Nigeria. Francis from NTA News.
National attacks on national security infrastructure and security personnel is the focus of the program tonight. And Francis Form's report, I beg your pardon for the mistake. We started with Maimuna Garba's report. Francis Form's report sets the tone for the program tonight. It's Tuesday Live. At some point, we shall open our phone lines. If I told you, please turn down the volume of your television set to avoid the hallback or echo, and go straight to the point. You don't need to rigmarole. Also, you can be part of the discussion tonight to our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA. Tonight, I'm being joined by Director General, Nigerian Army Resource Center, Major General Garba Ayodeji Wahab, retired. Welcome to Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner of Police, Frank Mba, Force Public Relations Officer. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you, and good evening to our viewers.
And also tonight is the Director, Center for Democracy and Development, Professor Jibrin Ibrahim. Welcome to Tuesday Live. Okay, we begin. Let's look at it. These stories are everywhere: kidnapping, banditry, neutralism, armed robbery, cultists, and lately attacks on security infrastructure in the country. Let's begin looking at what would have taken us to this extent.
Thank you very much for the question. I think over the period, we've allowed a lot of things to go unchecked. And you cannot continue to have a society where anybody can do whatever they like without facing sanctions or whatever. No matter the reason, whether political, economic, whatever. People tend to use developed countries as example as their business, forgetting that those agencies they are trying to attack here in Nigeria are the backbone of whatever is happening down there. Nobody jokes with any security personnel in any country, anywhere that you want to develop, because that is the essence of your survival. And in the military, there are theories we use to explain this, particularly the theory of realism, which is based on your national interest can only be achieved through your power, ability to get what you want. And if you can't secure yourself at home, why do you talk to somebody outside that yet Nigeria wants this and anybody will listen to you? We're joking with fire. And I pray that what happened in Somalia should not repeat itself in Nigeria. It's not a child play when somebody wakes up or a group of people gets up early in the morning and decide to burn down a police station or kill a policeman. That is the symbol of authority. It's uncalled for.
CP Frank, but as much as I know, maybe you give us update of what it is now. Sometime somewhere somebody said what has happened would have warranted maybe the nation to have all security instructions in infrastructure in the country on half-mast because it's an affront on the authority of the state. Let's get your perspective.
Thank you, and thank you, NTA, for giving premium. I mean, considering this very germane and very important, some other persons might just glean over it and just report it just like every other news. But the attack on security personnel, the attack on the infrastructures of the state, the attack on security infrastructure, the attack on police, military, correctional facilities, they are not just ordinary attacks. In fact, even in our criminal code, when you assault a police officer on duty, it is considered an aggravated form of assault. It is not on the same pedestal with just an assault on any other citizen of the state. Because at the point you are assaulting the police officer, you are assaulting the symbol of the state. You are assaulting the symbol of authority of the state. The police officer, the soldier, the immigration officer, the custom officer, they are not operating on the street on their own accord. What they do, they carry the collective authority of the entire country. We all came together and surrendered our individual authority, individual power, and vested them on them. So when you are attacking any of this personnel, you are not just attacking CP Frank Mba. You are attacking a man who is not just there for himself, by himself. You are attacking a man who represents the collective will of the people, the collective desire of the entire nation to stay safe and remain orderly. And I just need to make this point. For those who, again, tend to diminish the significance, when people come together to attack these men and women in uniform, attack and diminish their infrastructure and facilities, oftentimes the policemen, the soldiers, the correction officers are not just the end. They are a means to an end. They are not just attacking them because that is the ultimate objective. It is a means to an end. They have greater and bigger objective. They are aiming at the soul of the nation. They are aiming at the authority of the state. They want to delegitimize the government. They want to delegitimize the sovereignty of the country. They want to delegitimize the territorial powers of our people. They want to diminish our collective will and our collective authority. And so it is something that we must view very seriously. It is something that we must tackle with all seriousness. It is something that every man and woman of goodwill must rise up against.
Thank you so much. Major General Garuba, now you have said in other climes, the armed forces, the police, the paramilitary, and other security agencies are held in high esteem in view of the role they play in the society. And if, going by what this CP Frank has said, though in the media at your level you're not retired, we expect that you're still very much active. Now, what was it like and why is it that it has gotten to this level and it looks as though as much as government is taking steps to stem, it's not abating?
there are so many things that are not being done properly. And I'll give an example. If somebody kidnaps an individual in a state, and you decide, the state authority decide to pay for that kidnapping, what you've done is to encourage others to believe that, yes, this is a better profession, a way of making money easier, quicker, and better. So those at the ends of affairs need to come together and speak and act unitarily, as a force, as one. You need to condemn virtually all the things that are happening, not just picking, cherry picking. In my place, yes, we need to look at what is happening. You don't negotiate with a kidnapper. You don't negotiate with a bandit. And we're doing that. And secondly, when cases get to a court of law, if you take 10 years to decide a case of simple stealing, simple theft, what you are doing, you are sending a wrong message down to the general populace as to what is happening. And so we've allowed impunity to reign supreme. And so everybody is now beginning to feel, I can do whatever I like, nothing is going to happen to me. So if people are arrested and they are taken to court, there is a mismatch, there is a problem. Okay. And I have a personal example where, while I was in service, some people were arrested for bunkering, and we took them to court. Then S.Y. Bello, retired, was the commander, took these guys to court. And all the reports were coming to Amekota. I was asked to go and be part of the whole thing. When the case came to court, the judge said, go and bring the vessel. And we said, Your Excellency, or Your Highness, can we take this, can we move the court to the location where the vessel is? He said, no, bring the vessel here. Indirectly, you have given those who have done that job the opportunity to do whatever they like. So gradually over the years, we've empowered the bad guys and we're creating vacuums. So it goes both ways. Everybody must do their bit conventionally, because there are two ways to solve problems. Crisis. There are two ways to manage crisis. You either do the conventional something, or you bring in the law enforcement. But those that are being brought in now are the ones being attacked, and people are not ready to do their job. So we're having a collapse of the system gradually. And if those at the ends of affairs don't come together and agree, if they feel that, well, I'm secured today, we are giving those at the rods the opportunity to do whatever they like. And it's not going to all go well for us. Okay. So it's everybody's responsibility. Everybody. From the fathers and mothers from their homes to warn and to educate, to schools where we don't teach security education, security awareness. We don't. If something happens today, you ask an average Nigerian, can you describe what happened? He cannot. So if you now want the man or somebody who had committed an offense to be arrested, and you cannot give a description of the person, then we have a problem. And we should learn from the Swedish. The Swedish in 2011 realized they were having problems. There's possibility of attack from Russia. There are problems internally. And they changed the educational setup. And so everybody from the grassroots, from a child to the oldest, is involved in the security of the community. We keep on shouting about community security. Is it not the same police we are going to report to? When somebody has done something and you've arrested or you have kept somebody must come to go and prosecute that person. If you don't believe and don't trust those who are to do the job, well, how do you now police a community when the higher system that's supposed to assist you in ensuring that community policing works is being degraded?
Okay. We'll get to other perspectives, but judging from what you've said, Frank, clearly, now, given what he has talked about, where lies the place of national interest? Is it the individual that determines national interest, or the institutions, given the fact that if the Constitution is there, the extant laws are there, who determines national interest?
Before I answer that question, I need to take up a point that he made.
Okay, go ahead.
General Hab succinctly captured it when he talked about impunity. Part of this problem we are facing today did not start overnight. There have been a build-up. There are signs, there are signals that certain persons in governance ignored. We are where we are today because a whole lot of persons, a whole lot of structures that are expected to perform certain roles failed to perform those roles. I've seen in this country where people rose to prominence simply by committing crimes. They rose to prominence simply by killing, committing all kinds of crimes. They were patronized by political actors in this country. And then they got to a point where they begin to give them contracts, reward for acts that clearly are criminal acts. And some of them today are become celebrities. They are courted. When they step out on the street, they have huge number of followers. If you allow such system to thrive, you are sending the wrong message to the younger ones. Because what the point is simply, the ideas are simply planted in their heads are that you could actually rise to prominence just by committing crimes, by killing, by kidnapping, by setting up a camp and becoming a lord in your camp. And this we have seen across different spheres. Our politics and our political history, our political orientation, our political cultures and subcultures are dominated by violence. And so you have what I can comfortably describe as a thriving culture of violence in our political life. You have what could be described as a violence factory. So, for instance, you want to become a governor, a senator, a member representing your area in the House of Reps, you begin to court some cult boys. You want to be close to them because you will use them to either steal ballot boxes or destroy ballot boxes in areas where you are not doing well. And people begin to see themselves as rendering services simply because they are capons in certain cults. And that's why today you see that cultism has become a major problem. Cultism has become a breeding ground for all kinds of crime. In fact, cults are like clearing houses for all manners of crimes. You go in there, the only culture they teach you there is violence, wickedness, and then they teach you how to use weapons, they teach you how to steal weapons, they teach you how to use drugs, they teach you how to kill, how to shed blood, and you begin to grow.
So just to cut in, that's why I asked the question. With the existence of security infrastructure, huge in Nigeria, the laws are there, the procedures are there. Are we saying that maybe the police, for instance, what you have listed out, now who determines national goals? Is it these individuals you're talking about or the institutions?
On paper, we have beautiful national security strategies. On paper, we have a beautiful constitution. On paper, we have all kinds of policies that are beautiful. But let me tell you something you need to know today. Law enforcement agents, and sometimes including the military, we are like doctors that are often faced with patients, but we are not allowed to diagnose those patients. We are only treating the symptoms. We don't have access to treating the main causal organisms or the causal germs. Imagine a medical doctor who is confined to treating just the symptoms of malaria. Exactly the way we operate sometimes. So you are just, what are the symptoms of malaria? Headache, cold, temperature. So this is a doctor. He's only treating the symptoms of malaria. So he prescribes Panadol, he prescribes Fensic, he prescribes Anagin, he prescribes Panadol Extra, and it goes on and on. But the real cause is probably a parasite called Plasmodium. And until you deal with the parasites, the symptoms will continue to come up. The patient will never be fine. And why did I make this analogy? As police officers, as law enforcement agents, and sometimes even our colleagues in the military, the factors that are driving insecurity, the factors that are driving crime, the real criminogenic factors are outside our control. We are not saddled with the responsibility of providing jobs. We don't create jobs, we don't provide jobs, except when we are doing our recruitment, and we can only do recruitment when we're empowered to do the recruitment. We don't deal with social intervention issues. We are not the one that designed the school curriculum. We are not the one that run the court system. We are not the one that build roads. We are not the one that can drive financial inclusion policies, political inclusion policies. We are not the one that drive a lot of these factors that at the end of the day come together to either hit up the polity or simmer down the polity.
Okay. I hear that one of our guests is up now, but before I go to him, I want to add up to what Frank just talked about. National goals. Who determines? The institutions or individuals? Powerful individuals in government or powerful individuals in the society or the institutions?
The institutions are not, they are very weak. As of today, the institutions we have in Nigeria are weak institutions. And that breeds lack of trust or mistrust in the system. So what you have, yes, he had explained some things.
That's something
you have a constitution. A constitution, I said it, and the office of the IGP picked me up. The constitution had tied the hands of the IGP without allowing the man to perform. He cannot perform. And the reason is very simple. Go through the constitution. The constitution provides that the Police Service Commission have the power to hire everybody less the IG. And then they are the one that determines what happened up there. So why do you have an IG that cannot determine this is what I want to do? Although he cannot do most of the things he would have wanted to do, because a policy by itself is a restrictive element. The policy will give you, you can do ABC, but the D and E that you really needed cannot be provided for you. So that's the essence of policy. So you come up with your strategies, which might not work because the restriction from the policy are there. You can't finance yourself. Somebody will give you the money you needed. And if the money is not there, your strategies are as beautiful as they are on paper. We have a national security strategy that did not provide the implementation guidelines to those who are to work. The strategy had provided, you do ABC. How do they do them? How do they come together to work together? Where are the guidelines? Go through the U.S. national security policy or strategy, and it gives you 4 objectives and four implementation guidelines. How each objective will be achieved based on A, B, C, D steps. That is lacking in what we have as our own strategy. So a lot of things are not there. Yes, we have paper, but are the paper really meant to work? Deliberately, one could say that yes, those who come who are powerful have decided, let's have this constitution that will not work. It provided for you to amend the constitution. The step looks very simple when you go through the constitution. It's very simple to amend or to do something to the constitution, but go out there and try to do it. It's impossible. So, what do we do? So a lot of issues are there. So individuals who are very powerful will come up and decide, this is what I want to do. And that is why you have policies of assault in Nigeria. Somebody comes in as a minister today, he decides to go this way. Tomorrow he's out. Another person comes, he starts a new policy entirely, irrespective of how far the other person had gone. So it is the institutions that drive development. But in Nigeria, it is the individuals. And if the individuals are with the interest of the nation at hand, it will have been a different
Okay,
different
the next phase will be how do we surmount this? But let me quickly go to our next guest joining us also, Menasara Kogo Uma is a public affairs analyst. Good to see you on the program tonight. If you have listened copiously to what Frank Mba and Major General Garba Wahab have sustained so far, and I want to ask you this, given what is happening and where we are right now, where lies the place where in the constituency said the social pact between citizens and the state, if the scenario as it is now, it's not checked?
Section 14 of the Constitution is the confluence between national security and the citizenry. Because Section 14, subsection 1 clearly talks about when you are talking about democracy, sovereignty belongs to the people. And then subsection 14, subsection 2, thereby talks about the fundamental objective of governance as a whole. In other words, the primary responsibility of the governance is the maintenance of security and the welfare of the citizenry. Now, when you have the citizens as the custodians of the sovereignty, and then it says that provision of the security and welfare of them is the primary responsibility, then section 14, like I said, is the confluence. Now, when we now take that one, we now go about talking about how will the lives and security of the people be ensured. There is no country in the world, no country that will have security architecture better than the interests and aspirations of the political setting of the country. The political determinants of the country are the determinants of the quantum and the efficacy of the security architecture there, because they are the ones responsible under Section 153 of the Constitution. Section 153 specifically speaking, talking about subsections K, L, and M, where it talks about the national security, where you talks about the police council, where you talk about the national defense council. Now, these three provisions that I talk about are the ones that are having the constitutional responsibilities of seeing to the security and welfare of the citizenry. Paradoxically speaking, you say that the IG is the one responsible. When you talk about sections 214 to 216, where it says that the responsibility for internal security resides essentially on the Nigerian police. And then sections 217 to 218 down to 219 talks about where the capacity or the demand for the policing of the country is beyond the ability of the police to surmount. Then you talk about the other aspects of the security architecture. In other words, the other aspects of the security means other organs of the national security. But Section 130 of the Constitution says that the President is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federation, and at the same time, he is the Chief Executive Officer of the Federation of the country. And above that, Section 153 K, L, and M that I enumerated earlier on gives the President the power to preside over all matters relating to the national security. But what we are seeing now, happening now, is a gargantuan eruption of the continuous neglect over many decades of the policing in the country. If you take the police, for example, how many from the Inspector General of Police down to the constable are aware of the provisions of sections 33 to 45 of the Constitution, that they can bring them off head and say Section 33 talks about right to life. 34 talks about dignity of person and human beings. 35 talks about the dignity, the right to family and private life. 36 talk about the rights to equality or equal access to justice, and the rest and the rest. Now, there is that decimal aspect of the quantum of education that is needed for those to be managing the responsibility of policing in the country. So the neglect regarding the aspect of the education itself, that is one. Number two, infrastructural challenges. How many infrastructural ammunitions, gadgets, sophisticated technological equipment that will be used in the 21st century in the year 2021 that the Nigerian police are having that are as modern enough, as sophisticated enough to confront any emergency security challenge we have in the country. Another problem we have, even that my brother was talking about, the issue of the Nigerian National Police Council, the one responsible, not the Inspector General of Police. Totality of the police personnel are about 385. When you take that one and divide it into two, over half of it are there securing people that are bamboozling us on the street with sirens. The Mr. Somebody's. Another half of that too is the one that is responsible for protecting the interests and aspirations of the multinationals, guarding their architecture, institutions, guarding our banks, guarding multinational corporations, safeguarding the interests and aspirations of the political class and the rest. So you discover that the number is really too small. Take Egypt, for example, it's less than 100 million people. It has close to 1 million policemen. In Nigeria, we have just about 385. What is the difficulty that we cannot have the resources to be able to have adequate number of police personnel to be able to match with the exigencies of the emerging challenges of today's Nigeria? When you talk, remember even the president's directive of employment of 10,000 policemen. It has even become a mirage. It has become so difficult. We cannot even recruit 10,000 policemen. Talk less of thinking of having about 1 million policemen to safeguard the over 210 million Nigerians that we are having. Number one problem we are having in the country is the number one problem of insecurity currently. The second one of them is corruption. By the time you now talk about the inability of the government to provide all the basic things needed for the policing architecture of the country to effectively work, by the time you now talk about the ethics and the discipline of the police personnel regarding the issue of corruption, for example, by the time you now talk about their limitation of number, by the time you now go about even talking about how efficacious and sophisticated are the equipments and the machineries with which they are confronting the emergency challenges of today, by the time you now talk about even some of the political leaders, in other words, some governors, I don't want to go into calling names or areas, that are indirectly or manifestly supporting activities of separatism or supporting activities of some illegal organizations in the country, then you now look at all these things as repugnant to sections 21 of the Constitution that talks about the national culture. The national culture that talks about the responsibility of everyone to look at Nigeria over and above himself, over and above his own interests, over and above his own family, over and above his own primordial considerations of tribal, of ethnic, of religious, or whatever. By the time you now go ahead further to evaluate, then you discover that the provisions of sections 23 of the Constitution that talks about national ethics have been jettisoned. The provision of section 24 that talks about the national duty on the citizens, duty for you to be the master of your own security, not to wait until the police, the military, the DSS, or what have you, to come and save you. The responsibility under the Constitution for the members of the State Executive Council, in other words, the governors, for them to see themselves as veritable components of security architecture, since they are collecting security votes. What is the reason? Why is the reason why they are now relying essentially on federal architecture to say that federal should come and secure their states? So we really need to evaluate it from so many angles, like I said.
We'll come to other issues with Kogo Umar because we have a couple of tweets have come in, and before we take the next line of reports, we have reports to sustain the conversation. Let's quickly look at this. As much as there are concerns to solve the problem, to address the lingering crisis, we now hear of regional security outfits emanating Amotekun, Ebube Agu in the southwest and southeast respectively. Now, would we say this is a healthy development as much as this challenge is on ground? Let me start with you.
It's not. We are agreeing that we are breaking gradually. And everybody is let me take care of my area at the beginning before things get out of control. And all he had said boils down to the fact that, yes, the policy, the documents that are abounding all over are restricting. He talked about the number of policemen on the street. If the IG cannot determine, okay, I need 1 million policemen today, and it's not resourced to have that, it's not his fault. Back to what I said. Yes, those policies are there, and that is why everybody is believing, okay, let's go regional. We are going back to history, and before you know it, we're going to start, okay, at this region, you can't come here. For you to come to this region, you must have A, B, C, D. So you start restricting, and then another set of problem is now being placed, which had started already, but not pronounced. And that's where we're going. So virtually all the things that are said is about the restriction of the policies or the strategies that are there that are not making those who are supposed to work. As at 2009, 10, Nigeria was the only country, using the army as an example, that has a population of over 100 million citizens and now has an army of less than 100,000, deliberately. And then the government invited, in 2002, invited the Americans, NPRI, to come and advise on professionalism. And they said, reduce the armed forces, especially the army, to 50,000. Reduce the Navy to 25, reduce the Air Force. If you had done that as at that time, what would Nigeria have been today? So if you have 500,000 policemen on the street, and they are scattered all over the place, but in reality, even the United Nations gave a figure. For every 1,000, you must have this number of policemen. It's not enough. So what we have is being broken down, and yet everybody is believing, let me go up and have my regional arrangement. So it's a sign of, back to what I said at the beginning, weak structure, lack of trust. So if you don't trust what I have, why do I trust you? If you have your own regional arrangement, I have mine, why do I trust you? So we are beginning to break. And those who are supposed to bring everybody onto the same table and discourse with one voice are the ones who are actually behind the breakup.
Okay, we'll continue the conversation. Let's take a couple of reports. When we come back, we'll begin with Frank Mba and go to Minasara Kogo. First report is beginning with a report from Maiduguri, and it says participation of members of civilian joint task force, hunters, vigilante, and provision of credible information by members of society has contributed so much to this. Let's take a listen to it.
A decade-long Boko Haram crisis which affected socio-economic activities in northeast Nigeria, particularly Borno State being the worst hit by activities of the insurgent, saw the emergence of civilian JTF in 2014 and subsequently hunters and vigilantes forming a formidable force in assisting the military. These concerted efforts no doubt helped in the restoration of relative peace being enjoyed in the state. To further sustain the peace, intensive civil-military relations campaign needs to be enhanced for the military to become more liberal in their approach to both civilians and the media.
The media is indeed one of the line of operations alternative to kinetic operations. That media non-kinetic operation is very essential, that could be harnessed to, among other things, increase public awareness and persuasions geared toward appealing to the conscience of the masses, from whom terrorists often get their recruits and their support.
This non-kinetic approach of winning the war against terrorism will help boost intelligence gathering and information sharing, as it will aid military operations. Community policing, involvement of religious and community leaders will further help strengthen security.
So what we are suggesting for is the stakeholders, especially the government, should create an enabling environment for the communities, for the citizens to hear their view.
There is a need for us to look at political solutions, and that we're looking at dialogue, for example, just to ensure that peace is restored. When we explore options and we see that that option is not yielding the desired result, what that calls for is for us to go back to the drawing board.
Stronger synergy, joint operation approach, in addition to information sharing among security agencies are some of the ways to address the lingering insecurity. Restoration of civil authority in liberated areas with the support of multi-agencies will ensure sustainability of the post-insurgency recovery effort and diplomacy.
Our next stop is Lagos.
Security in Nigeria is a cankerworm that has eaten deep into the fabric of the nation, and Lagos has had its fair share. As Nigeria's commercial nerve center, Lagos contributes approximately 30% of Nigeria's gross domestic product, GDP, and hosts the country's over 50% of non-oil industrial capacity. The state therefore becomes an attraction to people from other states and within the sub-region. The siege on the city by unemployed youth is illustrated by violent tendencies that occurs daily. Lagos residents have been victims of robberies which sometimes happen in broad daylight. Organized criminal gangs take over the streets. People no longer feel safe. The level of unemployment has resulted in sporadic attacks on public infrastructure and private places.
The country needs to address youth unemployment, the curricula at school, the value system, and our leaders must begin to show examples. Wealth acquisition to the detriment of social infrastructure is one of the critical problems.
The police must give us confidence that we can rely on them, that they can protect us. Number two, National Orientation Agency should reorient the people. That these things are in our hands. We can do them if we have to do them.
Drawing from the fallout of the NSAS protests in Lekki Tollgate, in which state and federal government establishments were affected, security experts suggest that people-oriented programs must be put in place to positively impact the youth. However, considering the peculiarity and population of the state, surveillance, intelligence gathering, experts suggest as some of the sophisticated method that law enforcement authorities can deploy in tackling entity.
The police, they must come together, and the community themselves, they must build a catchment of their youths and adults, especially those that have pedigree in security, to be able to communicate the insecurity situation of every community.
And from Ibadan, Oyo State, comes a report that says that the spate of attacks on security infrastructure and personnel has been described as a height of disrespect, which could lead to a state of anarchy if not checked. This is the opinion of security analysts from that axis.
The rising incident of violent attacks on security infrastructure are symptoms of weak, exploitative governance system, poverty, unemployment, and citizens' alienation from the government.
The criminals this time around see the police formation as soft targets in code. In other words, when they look at where do we attack that the government will feel it. Because the police are responsible for internal security.
Of recent, we relaunched our counter-terrorism unit, and then to ensure that our officers in charge of critical national assets and infrastructures are up to task. And to this end, we have also enhanced our intelligent information gathering.
Oyo State government has, however, taken the bull by the horn in an all-encompassing effort to fight insecurity.
Oyo State alone is like, in some part of the region of this country, it's like 6 states with our international border. And when you compare that vastness with the total number of the conventional agencies we have, the police, the Nigerian Army, the Air Force, even with Amotekun, Civil Defense and SSS, when you put all the number together, that number may not even be able to police Ibadan alone. And that is why the state feels that we need to, go down the level of the grassroots.
Nigerians are therefore advised to be security conscious at all times and engage in measures to prevent attacks on security infrastructure.
We hold the reports for now, and while the reports were on, a couple of tweets came in, and we'll try to address a couple of them before we take our first break. Well, I'll take a few, allow Frank to react, then go to May Nasara to react on the last one. The first is coming from @D Mango. Any attack on security personnel is an attack on the state and the last hope of a common man. @Jimo Siloi says, well done, sirs. My name is Deis Adebayo from Ogun State. My question is, police no get good weapons because some people run away for armed robber or terrorism. That's a concern. You note that. Askus Usman says, a very interesting topic. It is really sad and unfortunate that some people take joy and pride in destroying public property. The next one from @Yafatai. If the government can support the youths of this country, all these insecurity issues will be a thing of the past. Romeo @56 says, what I've observed about these incessant attacks on the security personnel is as a result of the lack of trust between the citizens and the security personnel. Look at what they did in Benue State. Do they expect the community to fish out the perpetrators after they have been? So, how do you react?
Okay. Well, you read so many.
Yeah, just two.
So many.
The very last, which says, what I've observed, the incessant attacks on security personnel is as a result of the lack of trust between the citizens and the security personnel.
Okay, yes, I agree to an extent that that there is a problem with trust. The trust quotient is low. And again, it's also a very simplistic theory to just put the security, the police, or even the other members of the law enforcement community and just say there's no trust. The issue of trust is larger than that, and General Wahab has repeatedly pointed to the fact that there is a major problem of trust in this country. And you look at the fact that, like he rightly said, the fact that we are all beginning to go back to the cocoons. We are beginning to retire to our regions, to our state, and beginning to draw up regional boundaries and come up with solutions that we think are customized to solve our problem. And if you look at Nigeria as a whole, you discover that even when you think your area is safe, as long as the other area is not safe, you are not safe. And that's why even at the global level, you find out that states that are doing well keep trying to help states that are not particularly doing well to solve problems that border on issues like drug, arms trafficking, human trafficking, terrorism, counterfeiting of products, and the rest of them. The reason is because no matter how wealthy your country is, no matter how wealthy your state is, no matter how tight your international borders are, as long as the country next door is unsafe, you are unsafe because they will export terrorism to your country, they will export counterfeited products to your country, they will traffic human to your country, they will move arms to your country, they will move drugs to your country. And so the issue of trust is a major issue. It will surprise you to know that even among the citizens, there's no trust. And that's part of the problem we had during NSAS. We were trying to identify the leaders and discuss with them and open up conversations with them. And then a lot of them, they were unwilling to throw up leaders because they say they don't trust anybody. And so you can't operate in that kind of system. So we must consciously, again, try to rebuild confidence amongst ourselves. And leadership is key here. Our political class, our religious people, our big-time entrepreneurs, they must begin to speak positively. When politicians speak divisively, when we allow the centrifugal forces to get a better hold of our nation than the centripetal forces, then we are in trouble.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's go to May Nasra. May Nasra, just listen clearly to these two tweets and react to them. The first coming from Adimangu. It says, what is the security votes shared to state governors monthly used for? Are they using such for paying ransom to bandits and other settlements? Also at Habib, security is everybody's business. Let's join hands together and find a lasting solution for our country. God bless Nigeria. And the third one says, quite an interesting topic. If the government can support the youths of this country, all these insecurity issues will be a thing of the past. How do you react to this?
The security vote is one of those political mechanisms that are bringing disharmony in the country. It's one of those problems that we are facing. For example, security is under exclusive list. It is enshrined as per Chapter 4 of the Police Act and sections 214 to 216 of the Constitution. And here you are. You said that the governor is the one in charge of the security. But the governor is not the one to whom the police commissioner will be reporting to. The police commissioner will be reporting to the inspector general of police. And you are giving him undisclosed amount of money in the so-called name of security votes. Yet, we don't see that security board subjected to budgeting procedure. We don't see security boards being subjected to auditing. We don't see any instrument of accountability applied to the security votes. In most cases, practically speaking, people know that the security votes are not normally used in support of the security of the district. And that is the reason why you will see some of the governors even in flagrant violation of the provision of sections 14, 15, and 17 of the Constitution, trying to create independent security architecture different from the police. By the time you now disregard the hegemony of the police institution over and above any other security arrangement, you are dampening the morale and the zeal of the police personnel for them to give you the maximum productivity value. Police, there are 27 components of security in the country, but out of these 27 components, the police is at the apex. Take, for example, the case of the United States of America. The immigration service is under the police, because the police, if you take the provision of the Constitution sections 214 to 216, it says is the one responsible for the general internal security of the country. How can they be responsible for internal security in the country when the immigration service is not under the police, like in the case of the United States? And the porosity of the borders, about 10,000 illegal immigration entry points into Nigeria, the failure of the immigration officers to handle that aspect is bringing a lot of problem, gargantuan problem, to the security, because from there you see influx of a lot of arms and ammunition through camels, through canoes, through donkeys, through so many sources, even through the district. So police, first of all, should not be taken by the security, the political class should take the police as up and doing, should place it over and above any other institution in the country, since they are the number one institution on which the nation should be reliant upon, by virtue of which you should give it adequate number of personnel, you should give it superior weaponry with which to counter any imaginary challenge that will come, and at the same time, you should give them control over all other arms and other structures other architectures of the security, the 27 that time will not permit me to mention. All of them, Civil Defense Corps, all of them should be subjected to under the decision, and there should be coordinated council, a council under the Inspector General of Police that will be receiving reports on the activities of immigration personnel at the border, activities of NDLEA, activities of Customs Service, activities of all these in conjunction with the heads of the relevant paramilitary agencies, so that at the same time there will be periodic review of policy strategies, policy decisions, policy symbiotic relationship among the various components that have one say or the other to do with the decision. And most importantly, the police will be educated on their roles. Most of them look at themselves as they are responsible for protecting the interests and aspirations of the political and the economic class. While the name Nigeria Police means you should derogate yourself under the Nigerians. The Nigerians are the custodians of your service. They are the ones you should primarily think of protecting. The majority of the Nigerians of which are less privileged, the poor men like me and some other people on the streets. So these are the ones that should really be seen as the custodians of the policing this thing. And that is how you will now build confidence in them. The police community relations is there, but who is funding them? Who is giving them support? So many times when people volunteer to come and offer information, they will have to save themselves if they are not big people, regarding even the source of the information, regarding so many stresses that they will be placed upon. So police needs to really reorganize itself. The political class should really give the support, bring the police over and above any other decision. All these regional security outfits clearly is in contravention of the provisions of Section 153 and Sections 215 to 216. Clearly speaking, they should be pronounced as illegal because they are more or less treasonable, because they are going contrary to the primary institution or primary reason for the setting up of the government, that is maintenance of peace and security in the country. For example, how will you establish them? On what basis will you give them arms and ammunition? On what basis will you give them operational command structure, command strategies, and operational directives different from what is obtainable officially within the architecture of the security arrangement we are having in the country? So the president and the commander-in-chief should really invoke all the provisions of Section 153, precisely subsections K, L, and M, and then see to it that all the governors should come on board, all the governors should be educated, that they are to be part and parcel of the security architecture by virtue of the security votes that they are getting, by virtue of them being the custodian people, the custodians of the millions of people that are elected democratically on trust under them in their respective states. And then at the same time, where there are areas of gaps, then the government should come in and bring innovations. We need innovations. We need comparative strategic peer group mechanism with our own neighboring countries. What are the security settings in Niger Republic? What is the security setting in Benin? What is the security structure in Cameroon? Because bearing in mind that they are Francophone-speaking countries, and bearing in mind that the contemporary security challenges all over the world is international in nature, and bearing in mind that the internationalization of insecurity and terrorism can be used through our immediate neighbors. We need the cooperation and support of these people. We need them to come into our security architecture. Periodically, we should be exhuming information from them. We should be exhuming the strategies they are applying so that they will be able to domesticate them within our own setting. And above that, the government should consider budgetary serious allocations to our security architecture. I really pity the new Inspector General of Police when people are congratulating him. He's somebody I know for about 25 years, but there's no reason for me to congratulate him because of the petty nature of the gargantuan challenges that he's coming to meet. I don't even know the magic he's going to confront. So long the political class will not change mind and bring about security as the #1 interest of them to surmount, make adequacy of budgetary allocations. Make sure that not just in the theoretical sense of budget, but in the practical sense of releases, and make sure that you monitor, you make sure that you, whosoever is involved in corruption regarding that money, is really pinpointed and dealt with, not just searching him, but we should really see situation whereby people are penalized, people are going about exhibiting criminality in the country, and we are not seeing sanctions on them. There should be sanctions for criminality, and there should be evolution of the previous system whereby people that are exhibiting good citizenship are rewarded by national honors, by national awards. Even letter of appreciation will do the magic. Since the coming of this government for the past 6 years, we have only witnessed 3 people. 2 are dead. It's only one that is alive, Ambassador Babaga Inikchingibe, that is worthy of getting national honor. There should be such type of things every year. People, our gallantry officers, whether they are the police, whether they are in the military, whatever, people that are fighting the bandits, the Boko Haram, should be adequately recognized and realized. The political class that are supporting the security establishment should be identified and be recognized and be given national honors and national distinction, so that there will be culture of appreciation, there will be culture of penalty on those that are trying to bring about divisions within our national setting. That motto provided in section 15, subsection 1, that says unity and faith, peace and progress. Our governors should be educated to ensure that they are the prefects of ensuring that national unity, national cohesion, national advancement is preserved by all and sundry. Without the national unity, without the national symbiotic relationship and coordination of national policies within the security architecture, really we are facing a very serious challenge. The political class should know that we are now facing 2023, and so long we don't correct the political landscape by security stability, so long it will be very, very disturbing the way we'll approach 2023.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll take a break, but before then, despite these challenges, the indivisibility of Nigeria remains sacrosanct. What is the way forward? What can be done to surmount all this? We have talked about the need to bring about educational curriculum into the schools. What really can we achieve? But these are other issues after the break. Stay with us.
Not mask your beauty. The primary purpose of a face mask is to protect the wearer from bacteria, dust, pollen, and viruses such as COVID-19. But now that face mask has become part of our daily wardrobe and accessories, Transgreen Nigeria Limited is introducing O-Care colors. O-Care medical face mask now comes in different colors to match your unique style and different attires. O-Care medical face mask is comfortable to wear, easy to breathe through, and does not leave marks or rashes on your face, and can be specially branded to suit your taste. You can get your O-Care medical face mask today from pharmacies and supermarkets near you. O-Care.
Protection you can trust. O-Care.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying tuned, and our focus once again is national security attacks on national security infrastructure in the country. And our phone lines are open. A couple of tweets came in while the break was on. We'll take them and we sustain the conversation. Let me begin with General Wahab. This one from Chris Simeon, 85. It says, a country where there are alarming rates of insecurity, unemployment, intolerance among different ethnic groups, tribalistic sentiments, would experience this kind of scenario. Nigerian government should wake up. There are great tasks ahead.
Yes, there are great tasks ahead for everybody. It's not just only the government. The government is there, yes, but every other person has a responsibility. Whether you quote the Constitution or anything you want to quote. And the issues on ground, if you want to use kinetic effort, that means using of force, you can get as much as a level. But the greatest number or reasons or issues that need to be tackled are non-kinetic. Creation of job to solve unemployment. Engagement of youths to solve unemployment. And if the figures being bounded about is anything to go by, 54.1% of people below between 1 and 19 years, the youth in Nigeria, that's the figure, 54.1. Those who are 19 below, out of the total population of 206 as at 2021, March 2021. So we have a major problem with that. So it is not just everybody carrying weapon or whatever you want to attack, you want to engage. For instance, the military had come up after the appointment of the present set. The CDS had come up with his own philosophy. The Show Army staff came up with his vision to work together with everybody in a joint environment to solve the problem. And then he came up with four themes as his philosophy, based on readiness, based on duty, based on dependability, based on continuous leadership. And those 4 things require training and knowledge. Knowledge of what is happening, knowledge of what they are expected to do. That is for the military to work with every other agencies. But bring all of them together. We are talking of 2 million in a population of 206 million. So what will the other 204 million be doing? So everybody has something to do. And like I said, let's start with the family, with the homes. Let us start educating ourselves as to what we stand to gain by being together. There is no nation. It's only Somalia. I keep on using Somalia. Somalia is about the only country that has one language, one tribe, or majority are Muslim, 99.5% Muslims before the breakup. Where is Somalia today? An ungoverned space. So every country that are developed based on diversity of the people there, diversity of ideas and whatever. And that is a major, major plus for Nigeria. But we're not harnessing it. So everybody needs to come on board. The political leaders must find a way. If you go by what experts are saying, why nations fail, 2 issues, politics and economy. Exclusive politics and extractive economy make people to rise up against the state. And that's what we're doing. We must find a way of practicing politics of inclusiveness for everybody to feel as part of it so that nobody feels marginalized. So if the political leaders are not ready to shift the goalpost, to allow everybody to be there, to be seen, to be recognized, we won't do much. The economy must be not that the poor are taxed, double or triple taxation, while those who are making so much money don't even pay tax. It's a lot of things will have to be there. So, socially, politically, economically, so much needs to be done. But above all, the religious leaders need to come on board, even though not recognized by the Constitution. But they must come on board because they wield enormous power. The same thing tribal leaders. So there are so many things for everybody to do. And until we agree, yes, we have a value which has been monetized. We have to find a way of changing our value orientation from everything money, wealth creation and whatever, for people to believe, this is my country. There's nowhere I will go. Even if you have dual nationality or triple nationality, get to US. The way blacks are being attacked shows this is the best place for you to be. And we have what it takes. The resources are there, the human, the material resources are there. What we need is coordination and cooperation for everybody to come on board. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be easy, and nothing comes easy, because we've allowed this thing to go for so long. And so to retract and to change the perception will take some time. It's not something we can do in a year or 2 years. And unfortunately, Nigeria don't have patience. This time around, we must have patience. And I use the bicycle theory wherever I've gone. You are riding a bicycle. You are climbing a hill. If you believe, oh, I'm tired, that bicycle will ride you. You are going to draw the bicycle up the hill. But if you continue to pedal, persevere, you will be able to get there. We don't plan. We believe in magic. There's no magic anywhere. The period of miracles are gone forever and ever. Amen. No miracle again. We must sit down and plan and go back to the processes and procedures so that everybody knows this is the way to go about it. There's no shortcut. We love shortcuts. Go onto the street, you are driving. Somebody sees small 2-3 vehicles in front. He had veered. He wants to be ahead. Yet he believes every other person must be online. So it's for everybody to come on board.
Thank you so much. Now, Frank, Chris Simeon says those hoodlums that destroy the public infrastructure are not from the moon. They are living among us. Question is, what proactive steps is the government taking in fishing out the perpetrators of such barbaric acts? In reacting to this, what's the updates regarding the development in Owerri? How far? How many arrests? Where are we with it in reacting to this?
Okay, you know, even before the unfortunate incident at Owerri took place, we've had other pockets of attack, and we had made arrests, we had made recoveries of weapons, AK-47, ammunition, including improvised explosive devices, and we did put this thing out to the public. Owerri incident is under investigation. We've made significant progress, but this is an active and ongoing investigation. The much I can say is that we've made significant inroads. Arrests have been made, certain recovery has been made, certain objects are currently being subjected to forensic analysis in order for us to piece up even further pieces of evidence. But that's the much I can say, because it's an active investigation. At the right time, and when we have gotten to a safe cruising altitude, we will be talking to Nigerians and briefing them. But like the contributor, the virtual contributor rightly noted, these attackers are Nigerians. Even if they are not Nigerian, even if there are a few of them who are not Nigerians, they are embedded in Nigeria, and they carried out those attacks, or they carried out those attacks with other people who are Nigerians. And that's again where the citizens also have got a role to play. And like General said, the political class, the religious leaders, the traditional rulers, the community leaders, whether they are village heads or ward heads or presidents of town unions, these are where they've got roles to play. What it takes, like someone said many years ago, what you need for evil to thrive is just for the good people to say nothing and do nothing. And then evil will continue to thrive. And that's why the Inspector General of Police had said clearly that leaders in the Southeast and other parts of the country must continually speak out against ills. And we must stop this attitude of creating creating local warlords. I mean, creating heroes out of villains. And that's what I spoke about earlier on when I said that it's unfortunate that in Nigeria today, you've seen a lot of people who have risen simply by killing and committing crimes. And they have become celebrities, they have become billionaires, they have become persons that people in government actually bow to, patronize, and look up to during elections.
That's why I asked you that first question, that now, as it is, you have told us you're investigating, some arrests have been made. Hope the pressures will not come from some individuals and you release these perpetrators if they are found guilty.
Well, the point again is, and again, General equally drew an analogy about a case they did some time ago. The best we can do as police officers, the best we can do is to arrest, investigate, conclude our investigations, and charge cases to court. Once we've charged these cases to court and we discharge our duties honestly, responsibly, and diligently, we have satisfied our oath of office. If for any reason somebody somewhere who is supposed to play any other role decide to do anything contrary to the oath he or she has taken, that will be for the citizens to actually rise up and deal with. And that's why, again, no country in the world, no police institution in the world will rise above the culture and the demands of the citizens and the state. And that's why within the security circle is a common saying to say that every country gets the kind of police it deserves. Every country gets the kind of police it's set out to get. The Inspector General of Police can do so much, but it can do more than the laws of this country has empowered him. He can provide for us, the full soldiers of the force, more than the National Assembly has appropriated to him to run the force. He can provide for us above what the government has released to him. So as much as, no matter how passionate the IGP is, no matter how hungry he is to make a change, no matter how desirous he wants to turn around the system, he needs the support of the people. He needs a strong political will from the government, from the politicians, driving behind him, solidly behind him, providing him with the needed resources, providing him with the needed tools, and supporting him all the way with necessary reforms, proper legal framework, and giving him every support he needs to succeed. And we are servants of Nigerians, and we can only serve you as much as you want us to serve, as you want us to be served.
Okay, thank you so much. Policing and security is everybody's business, and if we inject this into the educational curricula, how aware will Nigerians be? But we'll go to Kugo after the reports, beginning with Kaduna.
Spate of attacks on innocent people, including security formations, is a national security concern, with each region having peculiar cases.
The limited number of boots on the ground are not well equipped and are significantly lacking in the technology that can make their limited numbers matter a lot less.
Of recent, Kaduna and other states in the northwest region have not had reported incidences of attacks on security formations, but banditry, kidnapping, and cattle rustling are of great concern. Stakeholders say effective utilization of traditional forces will augment the boots on the ground in dealing with attacks on soft and hard targets by criminal elements.
The current trend in the northwestern axis of the country, where banditry, the economy of violence is thriving, is something that has, has to be of very serious concern to all right-thinking citizens.
All retired security personnel, let's mobilize them together with the vigilantes to move into this forest, into this no man's land, into this ungovernable space. They are part of the territory of this nation. Let's move them into action and move in there. And when they move in there, we will see the result because they are not ghosts.
They also say disarmament of Nigerians of light and sophisticated weapons, vigilance and advocacy will play a critical role in minimizing such attacks in Nigeria.
Stop is Owerri, Imo State.
The increase in insecurity arising from attacks from most often unknown bandits has continued to raise concerns among Nigerians. More worrisome is the fact that the attackers most often target security agencies, just like the recent incident in Imo State, where the police command headquarters and custodial center were attacked same day. In less than 24 hours, other formations under the command were also attacked, leaving some officers injured. An attempt to find out the thought of some respondents on why security agencies formed the major target of these attackers left some of them short of words. Others, while condemning such acts, are of the opinion that the perpetrators could be seeking the attention of those in authority.
That has been very common recently, starting from the one at Obu, then to the headquarters, even Worubi, Beri, now Mbano. It has been like that for quite some time now, and it's a source of worry to every citizen of Imo State. And something should be done to keep it check.
While acknowledging the efforts of the federal government towards tackling the growing security breaches in the country, the respondents say the time to involve community leaders is now.
The community leaders should be encouraged to do the right thing.
The communities are supposed to have their community-oriented vigilante groups. Because in the past, what you see is that where they handpick members of a community vigilante group out of supporters of a particular government.
Aside from job creation with youth as the major target group, it is hoped that the collaborative efforts by regional and federal governments will begin to yield the desired result towards ensuring sustainable peace in the country.
Our last report tonight is coming from Makodi.
Benue State is known for its relative peace. However, over time, it has continued to grapple with security challenges like kidnapping, armed robbery, banditry, cultism, human trafficking, communal clashes, farmers-herders clashes, and others in many parts of the state. The Benue State government, with the support of the federal government through security agencies like the police, Operation Weststroke, NSCDC, the Nigerian Air Force, and others, has been constantly fighting the menace. In order to end the skirmishes between herders and farmers, which resulted in displacement of hundreds of thousands of persons, the state government enacted the open grazing prohibition and ranches establishment law, adjudged to be very effective.
The chief aim of this law is the prevention of conflict between herders of cows and farmers. And to that extent, I think the law has been very successful.
The most disturbing in recent times has been the lingering communal clashes between communities of Konshisha and Ojuloko government areas over boundary demarcation, leading to loss of lives and property. And military troops on regular patrol in the area allegedly came under attack by some bandits in the Konshisha axis. A press statement attributed to the Nigerian Army spokesperson, Brigadier General Mohammed Yerima, revealed that 10 soldiers and a military police officer were killed during the crisis when the Nigerian Army Authority deployed troops to the area to search and apprehend the perpetrators of the act. This generated tension in the community, which resulted in reports by some media that 70 persons were killed, a report Governor Samuel Ortom refuted.
Taken aback to hear that a group, an unknown group, coming out to do a press conference to say that 70 people were killed. It's not to my knowledge.
The latest development is the burial of 12 soldiers who lost their lives during the operation. Governor Samuel Ortom, who sympathized with the families of the deceased soldiers, described the attack as unfortunate, saying, "Attack on security personnel is attack on all." He pledged to do all within his capacity to assist the families of the deceased soldiers.
And our last report from Makodi takes us to sustain the conversation tonight. Let's go to Nasara. Nasara, you listen to the reports, and besides maybe injecting security studies into the education curriculum of schools, how best can we stop attacks on security infrastructure in the country?
The relevant governmental agencies at the federal, at the state, and at the local government level should educate and sensitize the citizenry regarding the provisions of sections 21, 23, and 24, that they are the custodians of the benefits of the security, that they are the primary ones under whose even the government itself as a whole is built. They are the ones that are the landlords for the governance as a whole. And apart from that, the government should try as much as possible and look into some areas. There are two areas President Buhari has tried very well. The area of social investment. The area of social investment is to fight youth restiveness, to fight unemployment, and to fight all ills of just living without anything doing. Secondly, he created a special ministry for intergovernmental affairs. That ministry should be up and doing. Ministry of Intergovernmental Affairs should be having symbiotic relationship between the federal, the state, and the local government council. This ministry should superintend the possibility of redeeming the local government tier of governance, which has been strangulated under the current democratic dispensation. Section 7 of the Constitution provides for local government structure. Virtually, you don't have local government structure anywhere. If there is local government structure, local government is a governmental tier that is closest to the citizenry, closest to the common man. It is the one that will be absorbing most of the shocks, most of the unemployment upheavals and the problems that will be generated from the grassroots level. But now here you are, they have it mostly like appendage of the state governors. How many governors have conducted local government elections to give autonomy and freedom to the local government structure? So absence of local government structure has made it difficult for the federal government policies to cascade down to the common man. The policies will now be restricted only at the level of Abuja and the ministries at the federal level, and to some level, some few state governors that are having serious interest to replicate such type of federal government policies at their state level. There must be governance structure and establishment at the local level. That is what will bring about all such grants that we are having, all such money that you are generating from the local government level should be utilized to really take care of internal security architecture at the local government level. That is the money that will be used to bring about the traditional rulers. You are always talking about give roles to traditional rulers, give roles to traditional rulers, who since 1975 and 76, their roles have been taken away. Before 75 local government reforms, the traditional rulers were the custodians of local security, local revenue generation, local social relations, and they are the custodians of our culture and tradition at the local government level. Now, when you don't have local government system, this has been eroded. And the president even tried the other time by bringing about presidential executive order regarding the autonomy for the local government system. Yet, up to this moment, you don't have that autonomy practically established at that level. So we should try as much as possible and bring about a local government system entrenched as provided by our constitution. Doing it that way will bring about a lot of employment opportunities. There are so many people that have reached poverty level of the age of 18 that have never seen local government chairman. They are only living to be seeing the reality of local government sole administrators without seeing any election at that level. So we need that one to be restored. And apart from that one, it is very, very important the relevant governmental establishments, for example, the Ministry of Disaster, Humanitarian and Social Services, the social services component that the government is introducing should not just be seen. Ordinarily, most people that are getting that money are just seeing it as, what do you call it, as Father Christmas. It shouldn't be seen as Father Christmas. There should be guidance and direction for them to channel it to productivity. Otherwise, most of these people that are getting that money, they don't even have the knowledge that it is even a loan, that one day they should be accountable to repay it back. They don't even have that thinking. There should be guidance, proper guidance. Those moribund type of governmental ministries and agencies that are supposed to be teaching people about how to be creative, how to be utilizing such type of money should really be revamped again. And apart from that too, there should be the need for us to evoke the provision of Section 21, our national custom, our national culture. Our culture is fast eroding. We are being too much pro-Europeans rather than pro-Africans. The culture of Africans of being community police officers. Everybody is a community police officer in the African context, in the African tradition. People should be educated to know that the totality of the creation of life, the totality of the existence of life is a trust. The whole area of the world we are all children of Adam and Eve. If God had wished, for example, all of us will have been looking alike. All of us will have been having same tribe, same religion, same everything. So people should see that the essence of government is to organize formal civility within which we will be relating with one another, and at the same time to be responsible for protecting those architectures, those instruments, those institutions for the benefit of everybody. After all, the provision of the Constitution as per Section 23 says that we have national ethics, ethics of discipline, ethics of safeguarding the interests and aspirations of the government, ethics of partaking in the security of our lives and properties. We should bring about those ethics. And we should see that under Section 24, we are having a national duty. It is a collective duty for all of us to put hand in the way we are to be governed. The number one way to be governed is the number one way for us to live in peace and security, in common brotherhood with one another. It is not your decision. God did not discuss with you who should be your mother or where will you be born to even warrant you whether to say whether you are speaking this tribe or what your tribe. Therefore, you should really think of being your brother's keepers as enshrined in all the holy books that we're having. You should think about that, but government should take a lead, should bring about certain things. Social studies, for example, is extinguished in our curriculum. History is extinguished in our curriculum. People that do not know where they come from, they will never know where they will be heading to. History should be restored. Paradoxically, the government says history has been restored, but practically speaking, it is far away from being restored. We should see it being restored, and then state governors, the federal government, and the local governments, if the local governments are restored, the three should have a symbiotic mechanism, bureaucratic mechanism of policy coordination, so that if the federal government says we are bringing about this idea of social investment programs, all the governors should catch you. All the governors should provide social investment programs too. As the federal government is alleviating poverty, the governors at the state level should alleviate poverty. The local government chairman at the local government level too should alleviate poverty, so that little drops of water will make a mighty ocean. With the level of unemployment we are having, and with the rate of the youth we are having about 60%, certainly it is not the federal government's responsibility alone. We should evolve national policy for employment, not just giving a paltry sum of social investment money. No. not only just giving the money, but should really be up and doing to revamp bank industrialization so that they will exhume a lot of the unemployed people on the streets and give them meaningful way of living. And then politicians too should discourage the culture of affluence. The culture of affluence is provoking anger by the unemployed youth. Somebody has been unemployed for the past 20 years, for the past 15 years, for the past 10 years, and here you are, he knows that you came to Abuja in a taxi, but at the same time, toward the end of your tenure, you are going there in private jets. You are going there with money more than almost the totality of the people of his local government area. So that affluence should be discouraged. The quantum of money that the political class are enjoying should be reduced, should be injected more towards social poverty alleviation by means of creating of employments. This way, you will appease the young men. And when you appease the young men, they will be prepared to look at you as leaders rather than rulers. When they look at you as leaders rather than rulers, they will listen to you. They will work towards the sensibility of the way you are working, and they will put the interest of the nation. And when history and ethics and culture and social relations are restored in our curriculum, they will see to it that they are really the custodians of the future Nigeria. That we normally talk to them that the future belongs to them, they are the future leaders, they will then believe. But so long you are not giving them these due basic rights, so long they will continue to be antagonistic towards you. They will be saying, when did he get into the level of becoming Mr. Honorable or Mr. Excellency? When did he get? Was he not together with us here when we'll be reading newspapers, when wind will bring about newspaper, his long leg will now be a waste to it. So we should try as much as possible. The office of the Secretary to the federal government is very critical. Before 1985, it used to be called Office of the Secretary to the federal government. Now, the Secretary to the federal government means he is the Secretary only to the government at the federal level. Now, it was changed in 1985 to Secretary to the government of the Federation. Federation simply means the government at the federal level, the government at the state level, and the government at the local government level. There should be a department or a division under the Secretary to the federal government's office, the government of the Federation's office, that will be symbiotically coordinating uniformity of policies among the federal, the state, and the local government level, so that at the end of it, we will see democratic dividend permeating down to the grassroots in Nigeria.
To allow Ms. Nasara to really exhaust himself, he went and went and went. Well, a couple of tweets came in, and I will allow General Garba to take two, then I'll allow Frank to take the other four other issues. At D. Mangu says, salvation Nigeria is a task for all. Political leaders must have a rethink on the need to serve the people, creating jobs, overhauling the educational system, and making deliberate efforts to build strong systems that are stronger than individuals. The other one says, Ibrahim Adam says, moral education should be preached and taught in all areas of our lives by our Nigerian, for all Nigerians, individuals to individuals, teacher to student, media to public parents, to children, religious leaders to their followers, and so on for years. This is the solution to all Nigeria's problems. A reaction?
It's part of what I said.
Yeah.
Education, whether security, social, moral, value education, is an all-round thing. It's not just meant for a group. From the families, if a father is living wrongly, like the CP was saying, while you are off, if you live wrongly, your kids will see what you're doing wrongly and they start copying. They believe it's their right. And that's what we're doing. In fact, we are living in a Western world. We are becoming more Catholic than the Pope, where we live in the Western world. Next door neighbors don't know themselves again. It's un-African. So we need to imbibe all these things so that we know that these are society, these are country, and we must work together to make it work. It's a general thing. We want to run to UK, want to run to US, want to go to France, but there is nothing that happens that people will not report to the appropriate authority that they've seen somebody moving wrongly or doing something wrong. It's not by magic. Even if you have CCTV all over London, we still have crimes. London is about the highest city with the highest number of CCTV, of cameras. But even with that, there are crimes. But people take it upon themselves to report what they see. We are not equipping those who are supposed to be doing the job here. CCTV in Abuja, it was installed. It's not working. Nobody has been called to order to come and rectify. Even if you don't want to punish, come and rectify what you've done. If it's wrong, if it's the wrong thing you brought, if you didn't fix the right thing, if you do that, everybody saw what happened. It was late, nothing was working, and everybody felt it's normal. So how do you now tell the young ones to believe it's right not to do the wrong thing? So what they said is right. It's everybody's responsibility, just like I said.
Okay. The other angle to it before I go to Frank is lately you hear so much about ungovernable space. Ungovernable space. Is that possible?
It's happening. Ungoverned space is happening.
Is it normal?
It's not normal, but like the other person said.
Because if you say we have a national security strategy, we have policing, we have the armed forces, and we have other paramilitary institutions in the country. And you still talk about ungovernable space.
But you remember I said we don't have guidelines to implement those things. The guidelines are missing. And if you don't have guidelines, how do you go about doing your job when you don't know what the other person is doing?
So how do we come up with the guidelines now?
Those who produce the document are expected to have sat down and look at, okay, this is a document, this is what we want to do. Within this period, ABC must have been done. And these are the steps you take. The procedure and processes are provided. And so the objective is given, and now you go about the objective is given, and now the funding will be given. It's stated. Who funds, where is the funding coming from? We want the police to use sophisticated materials, and yet people are complaining that the salary is not up to par. You want me to use a gadget that's the salary of about 100 or 1,000 policemen, and yet I'm not paid to do my job, and yet you want me to use that gadget. Of course, I will spoil the gadget. It's a natural thing. So let's fund those who are supposed to do this job. Let us allow them to do the job. Policing anywhere in the world is not done on federal accounting. It is wrong. It's a federation accounting. The federal, the state, and the local government, they are allowed to perform. The local government are not allowed to perform by the state governors who are complaining. The same state governors are not allowing the local government to have autonomy, and yet they are complaining. And there is hardly a crime that is committed that is not from a particular local government. So if the local governments are working, it becomes easier for maybe a DPO of that police station to know this is happening, and they nip it in the bud. But the local governments are not working. So if you don't have government presence in a particular place, that's the beginning of ungoverned space. Even if you have policemen there, but there's no political leader, there's no schools, there's no medical something, they are not supposed to be provided by the police. No hospital, no school, nothing, and then you said you have a police station. What is the policeman doing? Of course, that was the beginning of how Boko Haram took over 22 local governments in Borno at one point, because people were actually paying tax to Boko Haram because they were providing the governance that was required. So it doesn't mean people are not, when they say ungoverned space, it's not that people are not there. People are living, but because there is no government presence, hoodlums, criminals will now take possession of that area, and they determine what happens in the area. And so they collect the money. And any criminal, there is no criminal where there is no money. Nobody will go to a place where it's barren, where there is nothing to be gained. So even Boko Haram, why is Boko Haram around Lake Chad Basin? Because of phosphate, because of oil. Why are organizations, multinational organizations, prospecting for oil? Why are they still in the Lake Chad area? And yet we are fighting Boko Haram. And yet nothing is happening to those organizations. Something is fundamentally wrong. The same thing in Iraq. Yeah. The IS or ISIS or ISL, whichever name you want to call it, took areas that they can get fuel, they can get oil and sell. Who are just buying the oil? For any criminal activity, these guys are sure that there's support from somewhere within the international system, because you have anarchy. So it is left for the government to determine, no, we are not going to allow this to happen. The forestry area that he talked about, one of the commentators talked about, we all have forest area scattered all over the Federation. For so long, we abandoned those who are the foresters. No salary, nothing. And we didn't determine, do we want to take this thing to the states or the federal government should keep on paying? So if you don't pay, who stays there? So people moved in. And if they moved in, they control the area. So it's not that people don't stay. When they say ungoverned space, it's like the government of the day is not recognized in that place. So somebody else, if you have power and you allow power, you don't exercise your power. Power, there is no vacuum in power. Somebody else will take over possession of your power. And that's what criminals are doing. The vacuum created by somebody not exercising his power is being taken over by criminal elements. So we need to work seriously to ensure that the criminals are pushed out.
A couple of Nigerians sent in tweets, and one of the major things they said is security is everybody's business. And
thank God.
We have really exhausted the issue of, is it that I can just walk to a security infrastructure, whether a military base, a police station, a correctional center, and just do anything I like and I walk away, nothing happens. In reaction to this, Kraft says there are indeed too many armed groups in Nigeria currently in Edo State. Vigilantes looking like cultists. Everybody is carrying guns, and if there is a civil war going on, how come these men, not the police structure, are allowed to brandish guns anyhow? It's a composite question I put across.
I want to equally say something about the concept of ungoverned spaces, because this is key to some of the problems we are having. And I like the dimensional approach, the multi-dimensional approach that the general gave it, because over time he has just been given a very simplistic meaning, simply meaning for a whole lot of Nigerians, for even some in the governmental spaces. What they consider a governed space is simply a large stretch of area where probably there are where citizens are not living, or when there are just a few individuals living, and then the criminals come in and take control. They talk of mountainous areas, the caves, the forests, and those areas where bandits or kidnappers come in to set up camps, either training camps or holding camps, and then begin to operate within those areas. Yes, these areas will clearly, geographically, in the geographical sense, qualify to be ungoverned spaces. But there is also this figurative meaning or metaphorical meaning of ungoverned spaces, which he tried to explain. If you go to Oshodi, for example, and a bunch of thugs or touts sets up an office, a mobile office, a makeshift office, and they begin to tax people indiscriminately. They tax taxi drivers, they tax motorway drivers, they tax bus drivers, they tax even petty sellers. They begin to allocate spaces to people on a daily basis. And when you come in and you want to put up your umbrella, a poor market woman who is roasting plantain or roasting yam, and then you're expected to pay tolls to them, pay taxes to them. What they have simply done is, within an existing local government, within a state, they have occupied an ungoverned space, and they are beginning to govern the area. And sometimes you'll be shocked, they discover that the people within that area need water.
And that can give the impetus,
and then they sink a borehole.
To go and attack a police station?
They sink a borehole.
Okay.
They build a public toilet, and they make the money, and they're not paying taxes to anybody, and they're not being regulated by anybody. That's an ungoverned space. When there are duties that the government is supposed to perform, in any way, in any form, and you abdicate those responsibilities and allow certain individuals, they can be gangsters, they can be cult groups, they can be anything, and they begin to provide those services, you are planting a seed for discord. They have hijacked the responsibility of the state. That's an ungoverned space. And the more they provide these services, the bolder they become.
Well, I'm afraid after
the more daring
our
they
time
become.
is up, Frank Umba. Beginning with May Nasara Kogo, who joined us from the studio. It was nice having you on the program. May Nasara Kogo Uma is a public affairs analyst. Thanks so much for being on Tuesday Live tonight.
Here for nation builder. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And CP Frank Umba, Force Public Relations Officer. It was nice sharing your time with us today.
It's always a pleasure to serve.
And Director General, Nigerian Army Resource Center, Major General Garba Ayodeji Wahab, retired. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
That's it on the program. We looked at national security attacks on national infrastructure. Thank you for your tweets and for other inputs made during the program. On behalf of all of us, don't forget, always remember to support the NTA in the campaign against rape and rapists to be a star.